Alright, so this time around, what we are going to discuss is entitled bearing and vector in a plane. Let's first take bearing and discuss about it. When you talk about bearing, we just mean direction. So finding the angle, measuring the angle, by using the clockwise direction in a north pole. So that is finding the bearing. And so if we have something like this, we have this, the north pole is here. So we record that the first quadrant here is taking the angle of 90, here is taking 180, 270, and then run up to that, the 360 will be here. So you can take the 0 and take this one. So running through by using clockwise direction, that is the bearing that we are talking about. But we have two types of bearing. So the types of bearing, we have the first one to be the compass bearing. And so the compass bearing, we are just talking about using the cardinal points. That is the north, south, west, and then the east poles. And we have what we call the three figure bearing. So this one also, we are just talking about three numbers, representing a bearing by using three numbers. Sometimes we can give you a bearing, maybe we say find a bearing of 60 degrees, and the 60 you have to record it by 060 degrees. So that's the three figures that we are talking about. So we have 70, instead of 71, you say that 071 degrees. We can have what we call 312 degrees. So this is what we mean about three-figure bearing. Example under the three-figure bearing that we are talking about. So this is one practical question that can be in the WASI. So the question is, in the figure below, find the three-figure bearings of the points A, B, C, and D from the point of O. So it means that we have the initial point of O to be here. So A, B, C, and D, we are finding the bearing. And we said that bearing starts from the north. So it means that to solve it, so solution here. So the bearing as we have of OA. So the bearing of OA, or let me see, bearing of A from O. Okay, or bearing OA. So the bearing OA that we are going to solve, let's say bearing A. So the bearing of A. The bearing of A is going to be equal to what? Because we are reading from the north pole here, so it means that it's going to be recorded as 040 degrees, as we know. So we don't have to write it 40 degrees. If you write it 40 degrees, you are wrong. So that's the first one. Let's take the bearing of A, bearing of B. So B as the line, this is the line that we are talking about. So when we are to find the bearing, means that from the north to this line, and we know that the complete angle here is what, 90. So means that this one has to be 90 plus the 57 degrees. So when we are to add, we are going to get 147 degrees. So that is the bearing of what? B. let's go to the bearing of C. So this is the line we are talking about it, and we already know that here is 180. So if this is 180, we are constructing the bearing from the angle from here to this place. So it means that the bearing of C is going to be 180 plus the 39, and this is going to be 219 degrees. The last one, bearing of D. So the bearing of D is also here, this line that we are talking about. So completely we know that here is 270, so we just add there. So 270 plus the 35. So this time around, this one is going to be 305 degrees. So that is what we are determined from. So let's take the question 2 that we have here. It says find the bearing of P from Q. So from Q means that the journey starts from Q. So from Q to P. So what is the bearing? What is the bearing from Q to what? P. And the second one, we are saying that what is the bearing from P to what? Q. From this P to Q. So in a way round, you can redraw it so that you will not be deceived. So make the compass bearing here so that the work will be simple. So we have here to be the P, we have here to be the Q, and here was giving us 3 kilometers, and here is 3 kilometers. So here was the initial point, that is the 0. How are you going to find the angle? How are you going to find the angle even here? So we are just going to read the angle from this place to here. So it means that we have to find the angle that is located here. And we have to find the angle that is located here. So we can do this by using the trigonometry ratio. So under the trigonometry ratio, we say that we normally use what we call the slope, the curve, and the twirl. So the SOHCAHTOA, when we are finding an angle and it is having opposite is given and the adjacent is given. So opposite is given and adjacent is given, means that we have to use what we call tan. So because O and the A, so this is the O and this is the A. So the tan theta, we don't know the angle, so tan theta is equal to the 3 divided by the 3 here. So how are you going to, so we are finding theta, so it's going to be theta is equal to the tan inverse of 3 on 3, and 3 on 3 is what? 1. So let's find the tan inverse of 1. We are going to get, so tan inverse of 1 is equal to 45 degrees. So it means that the angle that is here is 45 degrees. But we are saying that we have to find the bearing. Only this angle is 45. So we know that finding the bearing from Q to P, we start from here. So, and we know that here is recorded to be 270. So all that we have to do is that the 270 will be added to the 45. So to find the bearing, so then you just write therefore the bearing P from Q will be equal to the 270 plus the 45, and this one is going to be recorded to be what? 315 degrees. So that will be the first one. Let's try to find the bearing from P to Q. So on this line, we are going to find on this line. But let's try to find the angle here. When we get the angle here, then we just subtract it from the 180 and the rest will be. So we have here that opposite over, so we have the opposite of this one and the adjacent, so still we can use the tan to work on it. Or yes, still once we are having this, once we are having here to be 45, let's still work by this one. So the opposite over this one, so it means that this one is going to be also the same thing like that. So it's going to be the tan theta is equal to 3 out of 3 because the opposite is here and the adjacent is here. So it means that even here is 45, here is 45. So you can even know that this one is isosceles what? Triangle, because two sides are equal. Here is 45, here is 45. Means that here, this and this is what? Equal. So the tan, finding the theta of this one to be tan inverse of 1. And the theta is equal to what? 45, as we have here. So this 45 that we have, the whole part of the angle from here to the line of the south pole is 180. So if you have to take this one from it, that is the 45. It means that now it's going to be the 180 minus the 45. So it means that the angle, therefore, the bearing Q from P will be equal to the 180 minus the 45. So which is 135. So this is going to be the answer. So let's take the reverse or back bearing. So reverse means that we are having a direction. We move from the point of A to point of B. So from point of A, we said that it was 45 degrees. Now, what will be when a person is moving from B to what? A. That is the reverse or the back bearing that we are talking about. So this, we know that there is a rule for it. I like to know the rules. In case we have a bearing is given. So if, let's say that if the bearing is less than 180 degrees, or it can also be written as the theta is less than 0, is greater than 0 but less than 180. So it's in this form. So any angle that is between 0 to 180, it is falling under the first rule that we are talking about, the first rule, or the rule A. So if it is that so, means that the back bearing, to find the back bearing, we always write bearing given plus 180. That way it will help us to find the back bearing. Rule number 2, if the bearing is greater than 180, if the bearing given is greater than 180, what are we going to do? That one, so the back bearing is going to be the bearing given minus 180. So these are the two rules under the back bearing we are going to use. Okay, so let's take example according to the rules. So we are having two examples that also go by the rules that we stated. So the first one is saying that if the bearing of y from x is 60 degrees, find the bearing of x from y. So let's solve the first one. Solution to the first example. Let's make a sketch of it and see. But before that, we already know that if angle given is less than 60, the rule is saying that add 180 to it. So we have directly, we can say that the bearing of x from y, that is what they want us to find. It will be equal to, so that's the one that we have written is the back bearing. So the bearing, because we are given the bearing of y from x, and we have to find the bearing of x from y. So it's the back bearing or the reverse bearing. The rule is saying that we should just write the bearing that is given. So we have 60 and we add what? 180 to it. So directly this one is going to give us 140 degrees. Let me the sketch and see if we are going to get that. First, from x, so means that from x we have 60 degrees to be here. Alright. So here is the 60 degrees. So this is the north. Alright. So how are you going to find the reverse? So the reverse, we know that opposite angle. We are playing it in the plane geometry. So opposite angle are the same. So it means that here is also 60 degrees. So to find the bearing from here to there, we are going to make it like the 180 we have here plus what? 60. That is what the rule says. So this is going to make give us what? 140. Let's take the second example. So the example 2 that we have, it says that if the bearing of P from Q is 245, find the bearing of Q from P. So the bearing of Q from P. So this is the back bearing we are talking about. So the back bearing is going to be concerning the group. If it is greater than 180, what we do? We write the bearing and take 180 from it. So the rule is saying that write the bearing. So what is the bearing given? 245 minus 180. So we are going to get 245 minus 180. So this is going to give us what? The 65 degrees. Let's try to do and see. This angle that was given, it falls in the third quadrant. So it means that we are going to draw in this direction. So we can start the compass here and make it in that order. So we know that here is what was given is from Q. So it means that Q is this one, and we will take this place to be our P. Right. So they are saying that from all this one is what we call we have the 2, 4, 5 degrees. So only this place is going to be 1, because we have here to be 180. Only this place is going to be, so the 245 minus 180 is going to give this place to be 65. And we have learned about opposite angle. So once we know 65, and here is going to be the 65, the same thing. So the answer that we had is what? Correct. Okay, so now the next subtopic under the bearing is distance bearing problems. So under the distance, when you talk about distance, the same as find the magnitude. And then bearing, we say that bearing is the direction. So how do you go by it? Anytime they ask a question that is concerning distance and bearing, the first step is that draw a raw diagram of the positions of the town, the positions of the town, or point. So they will be giving you a point, or sometimes they will be giving you towns. Then you draw a rough sketch about it. The second point is that the rough sketch that you make, try to get form right angle triangle from the diagram, from this one. And the third rule is that apply trigonometrical ratios and Pythagoras theorem. And when you talk about the trigonometrical ratio, we are talking about what we normally know as the SOHCAHTOA. So the ratio of the sine, tan, and the cos, and the Pythagoras theorem as already know. So let's first take the first example we have here so that we understand it better. We have an airplane flew from town A, travels 200 kilometers at a bearing of 135. So it starts from A, and the bearing given is 135. 135 fall in the second quadrant. In the second quadrant means that your drawing have to be in this form. And so we have 90 here, means that the rest, when you take 90 from this, we are going to get here to be 45. So it means that you can divide this one into 2. And recall this place to be 200 kilometers. So let's draw another compass here. And so from town A to town B. Now we have another one. So it said it then travels 250 kilometers from town B at a bearing of 45. So where we are, town B, 45 is going to be here, first quadrant. By this time around, it is 250, means that it has to be longer than this one. So we can construct it in this form, and that place also will make this one. So it means that we can now record here to be 250 kilometers. Alright, so we have here. Okay, so we have this way. So this place is recorded to be 45, and then the opposite angle that we have already studied, this is 45. So if this is 45, the whole angle that is here is 90. So it means that here can be also be recorded 45. And they said that we should draw bearing of 45. So it means that here is also 45. If here is 45, means that the opposite angle here is also 45. This point is C. Okay, so we have this. And the second rule that they were saying that we should form right angle triangle from this one. Because we are having 90 degrees here, means that our right angle triangle is 4. So we can draw it in a simple way. So we have the B to be here, the 90 degrees, and we have A here, and we have the C to be here. So now here is recorded to be 200 and B to C is recorded to be 250. Okay, so 250 kilometers. So what they were saying that the second rule that we are done with it. But the third rule is saying that apply the trigonometrical ratio and Pythagoras theorem. So that is what we are going to apply to solve what they are asking us to do. So now the first thing is that they say that we should find the distance of A from what? C. A from C. So from C to A, what is the distance here? So that is, we are going to apply the Pythagoras theorem. And Pythagoras theorem is saying that if a person is moving from A to C, from C to A. They say that we will find from C to A. So from C to A, that journey, this journey can be equal to someone moving from this and the person continuing from this. So from C to B, B to A, it is equal to from C to A direct. So we can just write it that CA that we know squared according to Pythagoras. So C is equal to CB squared plus BA squared. So now that we have this, what is BC? Or CB? CB is what? 250. So square plus BA is 200. So once we have this, the question asks us to find the distance of what? CA, not CA squared. So you want to take away the square, means that we have to find the square root of both sides. So if you find the square root of this, CA squared so this time around, so this square is going to take off this square. So we have the CA. So let's make it the distance from CA. So now, then, so if you have 250 squared, that is going to give you 62,500. So we have 62,500 plus 200 square is going to give you 40,000. So find the square root of both. So 62,500 plus the 40,000. We are going to get so the CA is going to be 102,500. So if you are to find the CA finally, so CA finally is going to be the square root of 102,500 is going to be 320.1, or let me say 320.2 in the unit of what? km. Okay, so that is the distance. So it means that here is recorded to be 0.2. So that is it. And the bearing. So now let's work the bearing. So from C. So from this C means that we are taking the line. This line. This line is just moving to the A. So from C to A. So it means that at least we know here to be 180. We know here to be 45. So let's try to find the angle here so that we add it to the one that we have, then we will get the bearing. So how are you going to find an angle here? So it means that the angle has to be here. So once we know this and that, means that we can find by using the trigonometrical ratio. So now let's work it here. So how do you work it? We have the opposite, we have the adjacent. So we have the opposite and we have the adjacent. So it means that we are going to use the tan. That is the 12. So the tan theta. We don't know the theta is equal to the opposite is 200. And out of 250. So we are going to write the theta. So the tan inverse of, so now Then let's find the tan inverse of 200 out of 250. So we are going to get the theta to be recorded as 38.7. Let's take it in that way. 0.7 what degrees. But that is not the final answer because we are finding this line. So it means that the theta plus 45 plus 180 should be the bearing. So therefore you just write hence the bearing of A from C will be equal to 38.7 plus 180 plus the 45 as we have there. So the 38 plus 180 plus 45 is going to give you 263.7 degrees. So that's going to be the bearing of it. It to be A and we have it to be what? B. Okay. So we know the angle here. So if this angle is given, if this one is 60, means that the opposite angle that is here, it will be what? 60. So we get 60 degrees here. And then we have here this line to be 8 kilometers. Okay, now we can find here. So what trigonometrical ratio are you going to use? Once we have the hypotenuse, how to find the opposite? So which one? The and that one. It's simple. So we have the hypotenuse, the opposite that we are going to find. So the opposite over hypotenuse is going to be what? The sine. The opposite over what? The hypotenuse. We call this place the hypotenuse. So we are going to use the sine. So sine theta, or the sine has been given. So sine 60 is equal to the opposite. Wait, what is the opposite? The opposite is what? BD. Is the BD divided by AB. So the AB is 8. So we will just write 8 there. How do you still work it? So you have to multiply both side by what? 8. So here by 8, here by 8, we are going to get 8 sine 60 is equal to the B, because that 8 will just take this one from it. So we have this. So now on our calculator, 8 sine 60, it is going to give us 8 sine 60 is going to give us 6.9. Okay, let's take 6.9. So the BD is going to be this. So now then we know this. That's the BD, the line BD here. So here is recorded 6.9 km. So it means that the DC here is going to be the sum of this 10 and the 6.9. Okay, we know that one. So if you know that, we are still finding a way to get this. So it means that it is good to find this one also, so that you use the 2 to work for this one. So then let's find this. If you are having the angle here to be 60, this will be the angle adjacent and the hypotenuse. So which one are you going to use? The angle adjacent and the hypotenuse means that we are going to use what? Cos. So this time around, it is cos 60 to be equal to the adjacent that we don't know, AD divided by 8. So we have, this time around, we are going to get 8 cos 60 is equal to the line AD. So 8 cos 60 is going to give us, so the AD is going to give us 4. So here is recorded to be 4 kilometers. So we have here to be 4 kilometers. The same thing, 4 kilometers here. So now that we know this and we know that, we can now find here by using the Pythagoras theorem. So Pythagoras is saying that from A to C is equal to, from A to C is the same as from A to B, from A to B, and from B to what? C. So we just write down that AC squared is equal to AB squared plus BC squared. Okay, so we are finding this. So AC can be in this way. So what is the AD? We have AD to be what? AD to be 4. And the BC is equal to 16. So the 10 plus this one is going to give us 16.9 all squared. Alright. So we have the AC. So this time around, this one is going to give us 16, and then 16.9 is also going to give us 16.9 squared is going to, so this is 16 plus, here is going to be 285.61. So if you are to add plus 16, you get here to be 301.61. So let's find the square root of the answer. So here is going to be, so AC is going to give you 17 point, let's say 17.4. So we have, the answer was 17.3669. So you can run it to one decimal place and it is 17.4. So that is the distance that they are asking us to find. Okay, so now let's work the bearing. So the bearing, what is the bearing from the A to what? The C. A to the C. How do you work that one? Now we know this. So once we know this, means that if we want to find the bearing, the bearing we are going to use this side. So we want to find the bearing. All this place was given to be, here is 60, and all this place is what? 30. But the bearing that we need it from this one. So it means that we are going to use the angle that is here. So it means that we don't know the actual angle that we are going to work on it. So it means that we are going to use the opposite over adjacent. So if you want to find the angle here, it means that it's going to be the opposite over what? The adjacent. And the opposite over adjacent is the 12. So let's work it here. So it's going to be the tan theta. We don't know, is equal to the 16.9. Okay, 16.9 divided by 4. So this time around, theta is going to be the tan inverse of 16.9 on 4. So let's work this one. So the tan inverse of 16.9 on 4 is going to give us 76 point, let's say 9. So this 76.9 is not the actual angle, but the actual angle is the angle from this to this line. But we know all from here to that is the 76.9, means that the whole angle that form is 90. So all that we can do is that to find the angle or the bearing from A to C, it is going to be the 90 minus 76.9. So this is going to be so 90 is going to be 13, something like that. So okay, so this is going to be 13.1, or let's take it to be at the whole number 13 degrees. So that's going to be the answer for that. F. So we can say that A to F is going to give us 250 plus 410, and it's going to give us 660. Here, we know it. Here has been given already. We have solved it. So 287 plus 500. So the whole part of this one is 787 meters. They are asking us to find the bearing here. So now we know this into distance. It can help us to find here. So which trigonometry ratio is going to work for opposite and adjacent? That is what tan. So TOA, TOA. So opposite adjacent. So you just pick then tan theta is equal to the opposite, which is 787, and we have 660. So what will be the theta? Theta will be equal to the tan inverse of 787, 660. So the tan inverse of 787 out of 660 is going to give us tan. The tan is going to give us, and the theta is going to give us 50.0 something. So in arbitral we have 50. So this 50 that we have is not the final answer, because this one is just given here. So this one that we have solved, but they are asking us to find here. So what is going to be, the whole part is 90. If the whole part is 90 and we have solved for 50, then means that the bearing, we can now say that the bearing, they say the bearing, so the bearing, let's name it, the bearing will be equal to 90 minus the 50. So 90 minus the 50 is going to give us 40. But we said that bearing, we don't write in this form. So it has to be in a 3-figure bearing. So you record it in this way. God be with you. Study it well. Any question, you just post it on the page and I will answer. Bye bye.